Oh, I don't have to get my hair cut.
Y'all looking good.
Yeah. Rob looks a little colder than we are.
Rob looks warm, always.
I'm telling you, I live in a big house, and the thermostat is on the other side of the house where all the vents come up and warm it up. So where I'm at, it isn't all that warm.
How does it feel to be rich living in such a massive house, Rob?
I don't know. Ask my wife. I don't know.
She's the one with all the money. Is that it?
I have my Social Security check every month from the U.S. government that I did earn it. I did work for that check.
Oh, that's good. You want to take that and buy a podcast with it?
I could maybe buy a cheaper pool cue with it.
Get yourself a nice action.
Nice right. Fury. Cue. I could get a nice Fury for that.
Maybe.
So
Demi,
yes, sir.
How you doing, man? It's 2 weeks in a row. You feeling all right?
Yeah. It's good to. Well, it was January was kind of a tournament month with Derby and Turning Stone and everything. So now I'm back from the tournaments. I don't have any tournaments for a few months now. I'm just running the boot camps. Pretty solid from here till June. I've got 1 week off in April that corresponds with the Super Billiard Expo, but I don't know. I might just work really hard the first half of the year and then play a few more tournaments the second half.
Nice.
Anything on your radar that you're definitely playing?
No. At this point, I'm just working for a while. You know, I like to play the U.S. Open. That's one event that it's I have no prospects of anything special happening at the U.S. Open. It's not necessarily the most strategic tournament in terms of being a little out of my weight class and a little bit negative expected value in terms of not being very financial profitable for me.
They do pay pretty deep though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I cashed last year and won some money, whatever. But it's like the bottom line is that it's it's just something you want to be part of as a pool player. Yeah. If you play pool, it's hard not to want to be a part of the U.S. Open. Yeah. So I think I'll play that one, and then I'll try to play some tournaments where maybe I could win some matches too.
Yeah, you do pretty good, Demi. I follow a lot of big events, and every one you're in usually cause some waves. I know because I'm usually paying off whenever you go and cover a spread. So.
Well, hey man, you need to message me before those matches because we can work something out.
we try to keep the integrity around here for sure.
That's right. Right.
No, but
speak for yourself.
Yeah, you've been doing pretty good, man.
Thank you, Mike.
And you should be playing that event.
You're favored the top 25% of any field.
Listen, I wasn't trying to fish for praise. I was just answering I appreciate you guys. I try my best when I get in the ring, and I've definitely just like any player that spent a lot of time playing, I can always make my presence felt at times. So I'll try to do that in the future. But for now, I'm trying to make my presence felt as an instructor. So I'll do the plug for anybody that's looking for serious pool instruction. Check me out at Minnesota Pool Boot Camp. It's mnpoolbootcamp.com. But okay, I'm going to be focused on that for a while, and then I'll second half of the year. I'm sure I'll have some good events.
Yeah,
nice. Good. Looking forward to that.
I guess let's get jumped right in then. We can. Oh wait, I want to give a shout out quick to some Patreon. The Patreon update because we actually had quite a few people join the Patreon last week, which is awesome. So I will give a giant shout out from this month alone. Thank you to Chris Henry, Amy Oubre, Derek Murray, Garrett Owens, Kurt Murray, and actually he's out here. I think it's Murray. Hopefully, I don't know. I guess I've never actually asked you, Kurt. Hopefully it's Murray.
I would say Murray.
I see him out there. And then we got Rick White and Patrick Neal was already a Patreon, but he upped his level of support. So thank you, Patrick Neal. And then Chris Cherry, and that's it for February. So that's a pretty good start to the month. Thank you all very much for joining the Patreon. It's the best way to support it. And of course, next month we are giving away a custom JB case. So last month we gave away a white carbon shaft. The month before that we gave away a Predator Air Rush. And now we are going to be giving away a custom JB case. And John Barton is actually going to be coming on to the show to talk about that in a little bit. So, well, a little bit as in like in the future. So thank you very much to all those Patreons. And I guess let's jump right in. We'll talk about the Wisconsin Apex Open first. Alex Kazakis is your winner. Bader cost Molina Mike a ton of money, and he is still not recouped yet. So he is actually going to go drive some Uber right after this is done. So we gotta go nice and fast today. Maybe deliver some flowers for Valentine's Day.
Whatever it takes.
Jimmy John's.
I'm gonna be recycling this can as soon as I finish it as well.
You're gonna get that 5 cents out of it.
It all adds up. Yeah, man.
No, I mean that's cool to see for Bader. I mean, he's kind of been knocking on the door to get a decent finish for a little while now. He's made a top 16. Had a couple deeper runs in a couple other events. It's a good finish for him. I mean, I don't think many people knew who he was.
Well,
certainly coming into this tournament.
He beat Shane, I think, last year in the World 10 Ball, and that was probably his biggest, I guess, cap on the feather, so to speak. Before then, not a lot of people had heard about him. But he plays 10 ball good, and he had a really good break. That was something that, for me, and a big reason why I lost some money, I guess, was because I didn't see that break until later on in the tournament whenever they were putting him on the TV table. Because if you saw his consistency there, it's no surprise to see his success. But yeah, he had some moments of dog in it when he was missing some spot shots. So that's something he's gonna have to work on, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. But all in all, it was a fantastic event, and kudos to both players. And even I think it was Yap and Levan, I think, came in third, fourth. So they all had some great finishes as well.
Yeah, he's I think I played Bader. I actually I think I won that match at Turning Stone in January, but him and he did really good at Derby too. Didn't he make like a final 8 at Derby
Yusuf,
too?
His road dog, Yusuf.
Oh, his road part. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So he had, I'll tell you what, man, there's been some really good players coming out of Kuwait. I don't think I saw them around, 3-4 years ago, but now there's it seems like a little bit more, and they all have that same style. Now, I can't remember, is Omar El Shaheen, is he Kuwait as well?
Correct.
Omar is,
Yeah, they all play the same style. Like when I played Bader, I mean, like really, really just super big stroke, super offensive, just, get down, fire at the hole with big, a big, free swing, lots of power, lots of aggression, and real loose, real straight. They weren't, maybe not as, the game management and the percentage play and all that. It was just like, I'm just going to catch my gear, shoot everything in the center of the hole. I've seen it. They all kind of play that same style, and I'll tell you, and they also, so I think they have a very offensive game, and then they're also a lot of confidence, man, a lot of belief. I mean, to make it to the finals of an event like that, and to make the, and of course, Omar, make it the final. They just, a lot of confidence, a lot of aggression. It seems to be, that's a good combination of pool.
Oh, it is.
When you can execute, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And they're able to, with Yusuf, that was kind of his breakout party at Turning Stone. I think he even got in the final 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think he had,
Mika.
I'll tell you what,
he went really deep.
He had Shaw 8-3 on the winner side to get to the hot seat match, and then at 8-3 he missed an opportunity and it went 8-4, and then he blew one more chance to go 8-5, and then Jason ran out the set. He ran out and broke and ran 4. So it's like he had Shaw 8-3 playing really, really good. I watched that match. He was playing really good.
Nice.
Yeah, he was definitely the steal of the event, I think, for a lot of people, and surprised a lot of people. Because I had Darren when I saw the guys going and playing, I had Darren winning, and those two met up in the final 16. And I think Darren won the first set and then lost in a shootout. I think the second set. I mean, he lost the second set and then eventually lost in a shootout to Bader. But I like Darren in that event because when I did see him on the TV table, I mean, he was just playing smooth. He didn't have a care in the world, like it was just every ball was going in. He wasn't. It's really like what Demi was saying. It's a contrast of styles because Darren's going to play the right shot. He's not going to take flyers. You're not going to see him play, crazy 3 or 4 rail position. He's going to keep things really simple, textbook, control his cue ball. And I think that's what got him, all of his success. But yeah, after seeing Bader later on in the event and then seeing his break, it's no wonder why he was able to come back. I mean, he really had a great 10 ball break.
Looking after this, Mike, do you think that the style of somebody's play favors different formats. Like in this race to 4-2 sets with a shootout, do you think that somebody like Darren that plays real steady, real percentage, real just, like not making a lot of, do you think he's going to do well more often? Or do you think it just everybody plays their own style and whatever works?
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure, because that's the $1 million question for a lot of these guys. It's like, when do you, because you have your finger on the pulse, right? When are you going to be aggressive and put your guy on your heels? Or when are you going to go and play, defensively and just try to just pick them apart, keep them in jail, keep them kicking. I'll tell you this, for a format like that, it's really wide open, and any of those guys can go and get there. And it sounds cliche, but it's no BS, because I'm not saying Bader wasn't supposed to get there, but there would have been a list of guys in front of him that, were supposed to get there before him. But he's got the capability, he's got the skill set, he's got a big break, and he can go and pocket balls, So if you give him a couple of opportunities, you're going to get buried, and it's real easy to kind of get in tilt, man. I mean, Yap had him. Bader missed like 2 or 3 spot shots in a row, and you just saw what the pressure just ate Yap alive, because he's never supposed to miss those spot shots, or at least make 1 out of 3, because he had 3 chances to go and put Bader away, and he didn't. But that pressure of that format, man, it just really makes it beyond exciting to go and watch, because you're never out of it until the guy goes and wins that most important second set.
Yeah, and I think I would agree. I think that as long as they have, at that level, any style can win as long as they have an effective break and a lot of and they're ready to deliver when it counts. As long as they're ready for the clutch and they have a big break, that's kind of the requirements of that format. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah.
What was your mindset, Nate, when you played?
Not to miss every single ball that I shoot at. And I didn't. I made 4 balls the entire tournament.
You did good, buddy. Yeah. Progress.
No, I mean,
were you aggressive or passive aggressive, or what were you?
So I'm not going to lie to you, man. Those tables, these pros make them look super easy, but I'm telling you what, you got 4.5 inch, you got the 4 1/4 inch pockets, and you are playing on like really deep shelves, and those rails do not react like, like a Brunswick. I mean, if you hit the rails on those things, it's not guaranteed to go after that cloth settles in. You touch the rail at all, and it's not guaranteed to go. Those tables play brutal. Those pros make them look so easy, but most players, I think, are playing on 4 3/4 inch pockets. And, there's actually a lot of pool players that have never even played on 4 1/4 inch pockets before. And you just don't realize how tight those things get until you're looking at it from 9 foot away, and you're trying to shoot, an 8 ball or something like that into a dark pocket at 8 foot away. It's really super tough.
You know what? It's amazing that when you change a couple of things a little bit, so you take a game of pool, and then all of a sudden you make it 4 1/4, and then you put the cloth where it's really, really fast and slick and shiny balls that you're not. So all of a sudden you've got a tighter target than you normally aim at. You've got conditions that make it a little bit like when you use side spin, it doesn't curve or deflect the same as you're used to. Your cue ball's not quite as tight, so you're not as confident, you're not as connected with the shot, and you're not getting as good a position. You're not getting as good a position, so you're looking at funny angles and funny shots with kind of a disconnected cue ball to a tight target, and then you add in like a world-class opponent that's just ready to run 4 racks on you if you miss. You just make a couple little tweaks, and it almost doesn't feel like the same game you've played all your life. And it's like going from pool on a 9-foot table to going and playing Chinese 8 ball or something. It's like, it's still the same balls and a stick, but it's way tougher. And I think that it's really tough, man. It's just, I've gone through it where you get in there and it's like, I play on my table at home with my, I'm used to the table. I'm used to my basement. I'm used to the pressure of my basement. Everything seems loose, but then you change a few things a little bit, and those small changes, a few of them, add up to an exponential difference. Yeah.
It really does. And that's why, like, I don't mean to go off on a tangent there, but just like what Demi said about his basement, like, this is why, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of these guys who are the bigger names in, let's say, like a Ghost event, like, I'm sure they can play great pool, but there's nothing like having that heat on your ass and playing somewhere where you're uncomfortable and you're on the road and you got a world champion in the other chair, going and putting you in jail. There's nothing that'll go and equate to that playing like in a ghost format like that, where it's your conditions, it's your environment. You know exactly where that ball is going to go. You don't second guess it. You know exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to end up, how to overcompensate whenever you come up a little short. I mean, it's just it's night and day.
Well, and what it reminds me of is we had Darren Appleton on last time, and I'll tell you the one thing he was talking about his performance. He was playing the game great. He's like, yeah, I just haven't been in that situation enough, and I need to put myself in that spot more. And then I also remember last year when Carl Boyes was was on one of our podcasts talking about, what was the event where they had like the 7-day rolling group. Everybody's trying to graduate out of their
What's
group.
going on right now? It's the Premier League, but the format. We'll talk about this in a little bit. But that format is different now, and I don't like it. But go ahead.
So in any case, when they were trying to get when we were doing our predictions, Carl went down the list, and we were all kind of making our predictions. And Carl's like, "This guy's been in a lot of matchroom events lately. This guy's been in the ring lately. This guy's been in the ring lately. These are the guys." So like when Carl was making his picks, it was like, who's had the most recent experience at the highest level of competition. And when Darren, it's just that's a common theme. There's nothing anybody can do in their basement to prepare for what it's like in that environment. And so you have to bet on the people that are putting themselves out there again and again. And
it's smarter money for sure. It's a smarter move.
Yeah.
It's safer.
And for people that are looking to get better, thanks, Brett. I appreciate the shout out. For people that are looking to get better, there's zero way to get. It's like diving. It's like going into really, really cold water. There's no way to go in without getting a shock. So you have to just go in, let it shock you, get acclimated to it, get used to it, and just like being in freezing cold water, after a while, you kind of adjust, or you die. But the point is that you can't sit there from your basement. There's no route. There's no route from your basement to high level pool that doesn't lead to. That doesn't lead to getting out of your comfort zone to the point where you just break down a few times, and you just have to say, okay, am I willing to do that? Do I want the payoff enough to go through that experience and just and that's why I want to play the U.S. Open once a year. So even if I don't mind playing Turning Stone Derby and some of these other like national level tournaments, but I like to play a couple of events every year that are just so difficult that they just they kind of I don't want to step down from that level of play somewhat in my life, because I know that you got to stay conditioned, right?
Well, you like to test yourself too. And where's your game at, really, compared with other players? I mean,
there's tiers, Some people are fine in their comfort zone, and some people like to get, like the Neights, you'll go in and play in that event. You want to get uncomfortable. You want to test yourself. That, and it's close by your house. So.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, I mean, I was actually kind of lucky with my draw. I got to play 2 world champions.
No big deal, right?
Not bad.
That's cool.
I got to play, depends on how you consider your 14.1 world championships. You get into some really, really weird waters there. But, if you counted those, I think there's 5 world championships between the 2 players that I played against. Mika has 4 and Jonas has 1. It's pretty good.
Oh. It was Charlie's event. I don't know how much credit it gets, but I'll leave that alone.
You're getting some shout outs here too, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, Jonas is is he the current junior world champion? I think he might be.
I think so. Yeah,
I think he's the current junior world champion. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of other decent players that have had that honor. I think Fedor was a junior world champion. He's I think we've seen his name around a couple times. He might be playing okay these days.
There's a ton of monsters that have been world junior champions. A ton.
Yeah.
You know what? That reminds me. Somebody asked about mental game. I'll just tell you, I've been telling my students, I'm like, no matter what the score is, no matter how bad you're shooting, no matter how tough your opposition is, no matter how many shots you've blown, it always feels worse than it really is. It's never as bad as it feels, and you just have to keep going. And the only exception to that is, except when you're playing Fedor, then it actually is as bad as it feels. But other than that.
No doubt.
Yep. Nope. I can. So I guess a long way around this to answer your question of how it went. I guess I kind of want to transition that into. I don't think we're done talking about this event and everything else yet, but I do want to transition it into a different topic, at least in the near term. So I was involved with Predator, helping them set up their events in Michigan and now in Wisconsin. So Michigan, I want to say was it 2 weeks after? It was 1 week after the U.S. Open last year, because I went straight from Atlantic City to Michigan to set that up, or to help set that up. So this is something that I honestly didn't know. And I work pretty closely with Predator, I guess, on a lot of different things. The tables that they're using right now are actually the 3rd generation tables. So the first time that they were ever seen was last year in Arizona. So they have completely rehauled their table 3 times, which is crazy to think about. But, well, their cloth is currently on their, I want to say their 7th iteration. So they went from changing their cloth came out, I believe the first ever Arcadia sponsored event might have been the virtual event that One Sport did last year. And then the VG Battle of the Sexes was the second one that they ever did. So that would have been, I guess, February of last year, where the Arcadia cloth was revealed. And it's now on its 7th iteration of different things. So this to me tells me 2 things. One, Predator released their stuff. Oh, and I should say the balls are on their 2nd iteration too. Everyone knows they had the Arcos 1. Now they're on the Arcos 2. One, Predator really wanted to get their products out as fast as they possibly could because they wanted to start this tour. 2, they launched them way too early. Absolutely way too early. I mean, if you're on 7 iterations in less than a year, or about a year, I guess, with your cloth, you release that way too early. Your 3rd iteration with your table, your 2nd iteration with your balls, way too early. Point number 3, they are taking every ounce of feedback that they can possibly get, and they are using it to make the best product that they possibly can. So while they released it maybe way too early, they are not just sitting back and saying, like, well, this is what you get. Play in it, get $25,000 for winning it if you want, or don't. We don't care. This is our product. Like, they are actively trying to change everything that they're doing with their products. And I have to assume that this is going to end up happening with their format too. But I'm saying this, like, the players might not like the format, and you might not get Jason Shaw, and you might not get Shane Van Boning, and you might not get Sky Woodward to show up to these things. But I'm telling you what, I don't know how much they pan the crowds, but when they get to a shootout, it doesn't matter what table it's on. It's like there's like a little beacon that goes up in the air, and it just says pressure, pressure, pressure. And
and these one of those red lights just going off.
It's like the blue light special back in the day with those stupid grocery stores. I'm telling you what, when those shootouts happen, the room goes straight to it. There are 100 people standing around in a giant circle watching these shootouts. And when the shootouts were happening on the TV tables, you're talking like 200 people. And there's only maybe 250 at any given time in these rooms, maybe 300 at any given time in these rooms. And every single person is in a circle watching these shootouts, watching what happens. You can complain about the format all you want, and maybe that needs changed. Maybe it doesn't. But you cannot argue to me that people are not interested in watching that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy watching people stand in a circle watching 2 people shoot spot shots.
What did you hear from the players, Nate, on that subject? Some fans obviously loved it, but how about the players?
You kind of have players. From what I've gathered, you have players breaking down into 3 different categories. You have category 1, which is like Shane, Sky, Jason, maybe to a lesser degree. And they're like the people that are like, we're not playing it no matter what. Like, this format is not for us. We're not interested. Category 2 is kind of like the Darren Appletons, Meek Emin to a lesser degree. And those are like we don't like this format, but we either like what Predator's doing and we want to support it, or we just want to play. The categories, we don't necessarily like it, but we're playing in it. And the reason we're playing in for it changes, but you're willing to support it. You're willing to play in it, even though you don't necessarily like it. And then there's the category 3, which is just players like that are just hungry for anything. They'll, if tomorrow, Omega Billiards added $10,000 to a broomstick tournament, they would show up with their favorite broomstick and they would play in it just because they want to compete no matter what. And it doesn't really care what it is. They could hit balls around on the floor for a while and they're going to play in it no matter what.
Predator, so they don't would really have a broomstick out within weeks.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, it's like I guess I used to fall, I guess, in the second category. Just to ask Corby's question, this is the second event that I've played in. I played in Michigan last year too, and that was on the 1st generation tables with the 3rd generation cloth. And I'm not like Demetrius. You kind of said it perfectly earlier. Like, it's the cloth is just so much different. I by the end of that event in Michigan, I honestly felt like I didn't know how to play pool. Like, I was playing pool for the first time. The throw reacts differently. The cloth is grippier, so it actually like throws balls more. So if you're using high outside, cutting a ball down the rail, that's a shot that I mean, maybe I'm wrong, Demetrius. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say if you're shooting a ball down the rail within like 6 inches, 95% of the time, if you have to do nothing with the shot, like you don't have to get position.
Yeah, you lay it in with outside. Yeah,
you play with high outside. You play that shot with high outside. Well, I was playing that shot with high outside too, and I was end up like cutting the ball almost like a third of the way to the diamond. I mean, I'm not even missing the balls.
And even on center ball rolls, the balls, at least when I played, the one I played was like the balls were so shiny and polished that, when you cut a ball, you expect just a little bit of throw, and everybody was, they didn't throw, like everybody was overcutting the balls. And it wasn't just me. It was like if you're cutting it, say the ball's like a ball width off the rail, on the end rail, and you're trying to cut it in the corner, you can't aim it at the middle of the pocket. It throws in, catches the rail, and hangs up. Well, here, people are overcutting it to the side rail again and again because it just doesn't. Anyway, it was really like every shot, and it's really tough when you're under pressure against good opposition. Every shot can already be kind of a roller coaster of adventurous, emotions. And then when you add in like a total kind of like a little bit lost at sea on the tables, it's as far as the format goes, I think that well, first of all, I mean, it's their tour. Anybody can start a tour. I mean, they're a growing pool. And I think that if they could grow the event slowly and steadily and build it up and have more events for players to play and make money and compete, then that's a good thing. And then here's the way I look at it. It's not even them that's making that choice. They didn't decide. Predator maybe technically decided to do this format, but they didn't really decide. Who decided is the people watching. The people watching, the promoters are just following the viewers, man. So if the viewers were really interested in watching Race to 13 double elimination, well then that's what they'd be doing. So it's funny because it's so hypocritical. People are like, oh, I don't like this, but then they line up and watch. It's kind of like Earl Strickland or something. So as far as I'm concerned, it's great, man. It's what the viewers want. It's what they do. Then the only thing about it as me as a player is I look at it just like if I fly out there and take 5 days and I get to fire one of my few tournaments of the year and I'm going to go out there and spend my 5 days and my $1,000 in expenses and entry. Am I going to get, it's about, do I have a chance to win money? But the other question is, am I going to get play? Do I get some play here? And, am I just going to play in a format where I miss a ball or two because I don't settle in on the table right away and I'm already eliminated? Or do I at least get some play and get an opportunity to kind of get going and get comfortable and maybe do some back and forth battling and stuff? And from what I've seen, I think that format is fair in the sense that you actually get some play. And if you drop one set, you get a chance to play a second set. And then if you lose one match, you're on the B side, and maybe there's still some soft spots where you can maybe get through a match and kind of catch a gear. And it's not, and then they have a single elimination redraw, whatever. So it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's very, very fair for the players. You get good play, you get good viewers. Go for it, man.
I think people have been watching Race to 9 and 11 and 7 and 13 forever when it comes to pool. And there are metrics. We talked to Ozzy before that they go and take into account whenever they made these decisions, and they don't want to be, too overly reactive, but they are taking feedback at the same time. But like Nate said, people go and watch. Like Demetrius said, people are there watching. People are excited about it. People want to tune in. And that's the most important thing. And I think I can understand from a player standpoint where they want to get the most bang for their buck. They want to feel where they have the best odds to go and make money off of their money. And a Race to 11 or whatever, where the cream will kind of rise to the top, in their opinion. I completely understand that. But they're putting in the money. And they're looking at the bigger picture there. Predator and CSI and that whole team, right?
And I was just interject. The players are thinking about one event, whereas the Predator is thinking about the next 1, 5, 10 years, and that's where they have even what
Darren's saying, like, I'm spending $3,000 to go and travel, and I get it because then there's 8 events a year. That's $24,000, to go and travel. I completely understand, and you want to get the most value for your money. It makes sense. From their standpoint, I completely get it, but pool isn't going to grow if people aren't going to be excited. And I don't mean us, because we'll watch. I mean like the average person. If we can't get those people to go and tune in and watch the game, whatever format it may be, then it's not going to grow. It just won't. And this does get people like average league players to go and stand around and sweat it, man. It really does. I saw it in Vegas last year, and I saw it when it wasn't even named players. I mean, like these were players that the average person hadn't heard of, like Latin American players, and they're in the middle and no other match is going on, but they're finishing their second set leading into the shootout. And I'm walking in the room and I'm like, what's going on? Because I thought everybody else was on break. Still packed full of people going and sweating it. Fans like to go and watch the shootout. I mean, they just do. And I mean, when have we had, what is it, $25,000 to the winner, like 6 or 7 times a year, however many, 8 times a year, however many events they got over the course of 12 months after a pandemic? You know, I understand where some of these guys are coming from, but I really appreciate like the Darrens of the world, because at least they're supporting the guys who are putting money into pool instead of just being the ones complaining from the couch saying, oh, there's no money in pool. But it's like, you're not helping the ones who are trying to help you.
Well, and there's enough players that are interested, that if a few of the players don't want to play it because they don't like it, well, that's fine, because there's a line of people trying to sign up, and they haven't had any problem filling. So the thing's going to work with or without.
Now they've been able to fill it, you know. But last year, I was nervous as hell. I was like, man, that's pretty brutal. Those guys are putting in all that money after all this crap, and then, you know, you guys they can't even fill up a 64-man event. And thankfully, more people have been around, you know, but it hadn't been that way.
Well, I'll say this: playing in Wisconsin, I guess this has everything that you would want to have as far as. It's got an underdog story because any locals can join it. All you got to do is post your money. You can play in it. It has hometown heroes, so you can have the best player from your area play, and you can also have your world champions that show up, and you can also have your up and coming players that are trying to make it pro. I mean, this has everything. So, I mean, one of the great parts about this, when I was playing against Mika Immonen, I started my first match, and he wins the first game, and then I win the second and third game. And when somebody made a post about Nate being up 2-0 against, or 2-1 against Mika Immonen, there was people came down there. I probably had about 30 to 35 people.
Sorry.
Well, let me get to that part of the story. All right. Give me a little time. So I had about 35 to 45 people that were just watching my match that were just locals, like from Madison, or they're from, somewhere in Wisconsin, or, they're just, friends that know the podcast or something like that, whatever it is. They came down and watched it. And we had probably more people watching my match because I was up against Mika Immonen than what was actually watching the stream table at the time. That's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what Predator wants too. They want the local players getting in there and, testing their hand against the best in the world. And if, of course I dogged it like the true champion that I am, but I missed a ball to go up 3-1 against Mika Immonen. If I'm able to make that 8 ball, maybe I win the first set. Maybe I get to a shootout against Mika Immonen. There might have been 100 people watching that just because.
Well, it's really smart of these producers to have amateur tournaments in the same building.
No doubt.
As these Predator events. Right. I mean, look at the BCA Invitational years ago out at the Riviera. I mean, there's 3,000 amateur pool players there watching these 64 world champions play also. So combining those things makes a big difference.
But from a pro standpoint, they don't want to be having a chance to lose to a shortstop. They want to get the most value for their money, and that's the tough part, because a lot of I've heard from a lot of these guys, like a race to 4, 1 or 2 little goofy things happen, the rails, the cloth, whatever. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you go and lose to a no name. It's tough when they're trying to go and make their living from. But let me ask you this, Mike.
Let me ask you this, Mike. If you're a pro player, would you rather play like, okay, so say you're Mika Immonen. Would you rather play Neight Mindham 2 races to 4 with a spot shot shootout or whatever, or would you rather play Darren Appleton a race to 11, or would you rather play Filler on a race to 11? Like, which you get your pick. So my whole point is, if you want longer sets, then guys that can't win longer sets aren't going to show up and play. And the only people that you have is top players playing top players. And it's like every match is a sweat. How are you going to make money when you need to win 8 matches against 800 Fargo rates? Here's the chance where they can mix it up. And yeah, they're playing shorter sets and it's a little bit of a goofy format, but at least they have a skill edge,
Yeah, but the percentages of like the Nates of the world being in that tournament versus the Darren Appletons of the world being in that tournament are here and here. You know, there's not at least this year. Last year it was open. I'm sorry, man. I love you. Last year it was open, right? So there was more opportunities for guys to go and jump in there and do the thing. Now it's getting more full of top tier talent. So it's like you're having it's a double bullet there. You're having to go and fade. And I get it, you know, I do, but I think the players have to kind of sit back a little bit, ride it out. I'm not saying this is the perfect format. What I'm saying is it's fun to watch at home, at the venue, whatever you want to go and call it. It's very exciting to go and watch. I think the pressure equates to like I've seen some of these guys in the Premier League going and missing on 4-inch pockets, you know, and those are short races too. You know, I know they're paying on 4 and a quarter over there at the Predator event, but it's like pressure makes players do funny things, and people want to watch exciting stuff. They don't want to just watch boring, run out, perfect pool.
I mean, and there are
many
things
other
about the Predator, like
local players were there, Nate? Any, you know, amateur players?
Well, actually, you know what? I'll give a shout out to one of the local players, because there was a player who tested COVID. I don't know who it was. He was like kind of like a shortstop type player. That's what I was told. I don't know who it was, but I will give a shout out because they did fill it, because Mike Taylor jumped in at the last second, which is a player from the Portager. He's like a 475, 480 Fargo, something like that. He's dead money. I'm dead money. But the point is, he jumped in and he played in there. And he said it was the best experience he's ever had in his pool career.
Sure.
He got to play Dennis Graba first match. You know, Dennis Graba played almost perfect, he said. He said that he lost 4-0, 4-0 to Dennis, but he said he learned more from playing that than he could have, you know, take $400 and light it on fire and play the best player in your room, you know, whatever you want to do. He said he learned more watching Dennis Graba approach the table and walk around the table than he could have learned from any instruction he's ever gotten. Maybe
I will.
Dennis got some funky mechanics though. Watch him shoot a spot shot. He'll be hooking all over the place when Dennis goes and shoots, man.
They're absolutely right. You know, like I was talking about who was it? Aranis. Like when you play somebody and you sit ringside and play against them, you feel the dynamic of the pressure and of the you know, you share the experience with them. And when you watch them play, there are things that do not come through on a screen. And if you get face to face and down and dirty, like it's totally different. Like I'll remember my favorite was like James Aranis. When I watched him play, what gave me goosebumps was how still his backhand was. Like when he would address the cue ball and his arm would come to a stop, it was like gunfighter still. And I've tried to think about why it was so chilling. And the best way I could explain it was like animals can get still. Like a cat can like kind of get still. But then there's like lizards get still in like a different level where it's almost like, is that real? Is that thing alive? And it's like his hand doesn't just get still. He gets like lizard still. It's like freeze. It's just so calm. It's just so calm that like you can sit there and tell somebody you have to relax when you play pool. You have to not move your body around. You have to settle into the shot. You can say those words, or you can watch James Aranis from 5 feet away and just, oh, okay, that's a totally different picture than what you would have formed in your mind just by listening to instruction. And I don't mean to diminish instruction. I mean, that's what I do. But yes, playing good players, and somebody's mentioning like mixing the pros with the amateurs. Yes, it's the best thing you can do. You've got to get it. You got to try.
Yeah.
But I'll give a shout out to some of the Wisconsin guys that actually noticed in here. Mason Cook played. He's kind of like a borderline shortstop, I would say. He's trying
to make a move. He's been playing every event.
Yeah,
he's playing a lot. Tyler Meyer played in the event. Jeremy Seaman, he's not a Wisconsin guy, but he's a top player. But I mean, he's still a local. He's playing in every single one of these, so I think it's fine to give him a shout out. Let's see here. We also had Brian Keeling from the La Crosse area played in it. That's awesome to see.
Did Fedkenhauer play?
Jeremy Fedkenhauer signed up and played. Daniel Ludwig signed up to play. I think that might be all of the ones that I recognize. Of course, there's Tyler Steyer, but he's obviously belongs in this, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, so there was a handful.
How did he do? How did Tyler do?
Tyler did not do well. I think he won maybe 2 matches or one. I think he won 1 match then lost his third. Yeah, he lost to Pius Labutis.
Well, I want to give everybody I want to give anybody that wants to try a little tip on how to practice with the format. So if you want to play your version of the Ghost, whatever level Ghost, whether you play 6-ball Ghost, 10-ball Ghost, whatever it is to make it so it's a fair race for you, you play 2 races to 4 against that Ghost, and you have to win both sets. And if you don't, it goes to a shootout. And the way you run the shootout is like this. You figure the Ghost is 75% to make every shot from the kitchen line. So if you go to a shootout, you flip a coin to see if you go first or the Ghost goes first. And if it's the Ghost, you flip 2 coins. If it comes up heads, the Ghost misses. But if either coin comes up the tail, it made that shot, and now you got to make your shot. And you can play it all the way out with 4 flips of 2 coins. And then I play it where if I go back to the second hand, the second shot where I'm shooting from a diamond away from the end rail, then I just give the Ghost 50-50. I feel like if I've won 1 out of 2 sets, I pushed on a spot shot shootout to get to the secondary, I'll give it 50-50. And if I can outplay that, then I deserve it.
There's some guys who can fire some spot shots out there.
What's that now?
So there's some guys who can fire in some spot shots out there.
For sure. So anyway, and you can adjust it if you want to make yours, if you want to make it tougher, if you want to roll a 6-sided die and the Ghost has to roll a 6 to miss the first one, you can do whatever you want. But like, that's just a way to make it a little bit more fun, because when I play the Ghost, if I know that the Ghost is, then I'm going to get chances. Like, and the other way you could play the Ghost modified is the same story, is that instead of you get the break and then every single time you get the shot, you kind of know that, hey, I'm up 3-1. I'm going to get more opportunities if I don't get out here. But if you play the Ghost where every time you run a rack or every time you play your rack, then you can flip a coin to see if the Ghost wins their rack. And then you actually have to beat, and you don't know if the Ghost is going to run their next 3 racks in a row or not. So if you get down 1-0 against the Ghost, you might run all your racks and still lose. So there's ways to mix up the Ghost to make it feel more like a real match and put a little more uncertainty into how many opportunities you're going to get. And anyway, those are some things that I like to do to, I've had a long relationship with the Ghost. I got to keep it fresh. I got to.
Yeah. I met a player one time. It was actually Mark Wilson's son. It was Jamie Wilson at the time, but he changed his name, I believe, to Jamie Barracks after that at one point. And I was sitting next to him in a tournament one time, and he had made an error right after playing. He sat down, and I was just gabbing with him about it, and he said what he does to practice, his objective is to make 200 spot shots in a row, and if he doesn't, he starts over. And I went, "You're kidding me, right?" I said, "You're absolutely kidding me. I don't believe you." He says, "Oh no, I'm telling the truth. I mean, so you get to 198 and miss, you go back to 0. He goes, "Yeah." And I do it till I make 200. That's that kind of dedication. It blew my mind at the time. I looked at him and I was kind of scared of him after that.
Before you borrow a line out of that book, like for me, if I have to take into account like how long the sun is likely to burn before it, burns out. So I have to consider that when I'm setting my goals here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. 200 might be a stretch.
That kind of stuff you don't hear every day from pool players.
Do you guys remember that little?
Is way out.
Remember that little fad that they had I don't know, it might have been like a year and a half ago, where you have to shoot the spot shot and get your cue ball back into the kitchen to shoot another spot shot into the opposite corner. Remember that? Yeah, remember that trend that happened a couple of years ago?
I did it pretty good.
Yeah. There's there was like the Russian girl, I'm blanking on her name, but she had like 23 or something like that. I mean, it's just, I tried doing that, like just basically kind of going off of the idea of this. I tried doing this, and I got the first time I tried it, I think I got to like 6, and then I tried it again and got to 2, and then I missed my first shot, and then I javelined my cue through a wall.
That's me. I'll practice the idea of like, and all of a sudden I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, like just the idea of like, I can't even do that, and it's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at a time. 10 at best. And how would you just get to 200?
Dude's hitting 200. 200 he's hitting. God, it's brutal.
200.
I just don't get it. Like I don't have.
We're 40 minutes
in.
We're 40 minutes in. We hadn't even brought up Kazakis.
Yeah,
well, I did mention his name once.
One time, the guy.
Well, I think that's pretty strong praise. Like he wins an event like that, we're just like, yeah. But how many where would you rank this? Like, I mean, obviously he won Pool Masters last year. That's got to be his career win, right? Where would you rank this in his career? Would this be his second best win, or no? He's probably won some on the Euro Tour, but this is a big win for him, right? But it's starting to kind of become normal for him. Like, we're not surprised, right?
He
I love seeing him.
He looked pretty overjoyed at the whole thing himself.
Yeah,
that internal that came out with him at the end of there.
He's also won a Kremlin Cup too. I know that.
No, but I think this is payday wise. I think this is probably second right behind the Masters for him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but Alex played smooth in that Masters, especially in that final where he was just superb. And
if you consider 9-0 over Shane Good,
no big deal, right? But the reality is, and Alex would say the same thing. He's had moments in his career where he had a lot of dog in him, and so for him to kind of get that monkey off his back and then follow that up here, and every event he's in, he's always playing well. He's always.
And then it's the dream shots that you make. I mean, every now and then, these pros are all great, but then it's when you kick the ball's in the center of the table, you're at the other end and you kick it in. Well, you make it.
He's playing for a final, playing spot shots, and when you have a history of missing balls at crucial moments, and to kind of handle it with the poise that he did, shows his maturity as it's grown throughout the years, and how his ability to go and process pressure and handle it, and then still execute at an extremely high level. I'm a big Kazakis fan. I mean, I'm super happy for the guy.
And that's why for anybody that gets in the ring, like I said, you got to get in the ring, and then you can't worry that I'm going to get in the ring and what if I dog it? It's like, if you look at that as defining, like, oh man, I guess I don't have what it takes, or I guess I'm just not supposed to be a top player. It's like, yeah, you got to look at, like, I've always said, like, here's you and here's where you want to be. And in between, the whole path to get from here to there is losses, missed 9 balls, chokes, meltdowns, bad days, plateaus. You can't get from here to there without going through that. So you just have to say, hey, I'm willing to go through that, because in the end, it's going to be worth it when I get there. And it's just, you can't. And Alex is a great example of that, man. He didn't let that stop him. He just kept going, man.
I don't know how many times when you saw him on the TV table where he's just like this or like this, and just shaking his head, and you just see his pain and his anguish and his misery, and then when he gets his moment, it's all gone, and he's there back at the table. And Alex wasn't always able to do that,
Well, that's the great thing about pool.
But I love seeing the emotion of it though, because you see him go. Because in those races to 4, it's really like, damn, every ball is pretty important. Every safety, you have to go and lay it down, because and on top of that, it's winter break, and you can go and make the 10 ball on the break. So it's like one mistake can really go and just bury you before you ever know it. And but no, I mean, I think his last 4 matches, if I'm not mistaken, all went to shootouts. So if you thought he couldn't handle the pressure before, go look at those results. That's pretty strong. And on the road, he beats Kachi, beats Federer, and he's in the final doing spot shots against Bader.
And Levan. Don't forget about Levan Corteza.
Oh, Levan. Yeah, Levan's a no doubt.
That was a great match.
I didn't mean any disrespect to Levan, but yeah, I mean, I love seeing these guys and just see their development and just see them have successes,
How often does it work out where, like, every match you play gets easier and easier, and you're still playing Levan Cortez in your 3rd match?
Yeah. I mean, and for a lot of money. Like
Bader, Kachi, Levan, and then Bader.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty strong, and I know they're not going to go and take these results into formally into account when it comes to Mosconi Cup, but like as far as rankings go, right?
Not going to hurt him.
It'll be in the back of their mind, it'll be in the back of their mind, Alex's successes outside of matchroom events, and just see names that he's going and taking down, and just see him go and handle pressure, because I think that's the biggest success of it all for him,
Well, I'll tell you what,
he's got the monkey off his back.
That's the reason why Kachi made the Mosconi Cup last year, is because his success outside of matchroom, the World 10 ball, and then the Austrian Open.
Yeah, but back then they didn't have these like more or less stricter parameters to kind of stay within, right? So, but it's like they're human, so they're gonna go and think about these things. Like, I agree with you, Nate, because I don't think the World 10 ball got him there. I think it was that win in Austria after the fact that just forced their hand to where how can we leave this guy out? You know,
with nothing that Fedor added to his resume.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess let's give the final. I guess Levan Corteza and Aloysius Yap gets third, fourth. Dennis Graba, Atlanti Kachi, Jesus Atencio, and Jeremy Seaman get fifth through eighth. Pretty good event.
Atencio's going to break through. Jesus is going to break through, man. He just seems like he's knocking on the door and knocking on the door. He just can't be like, I don't want to say in awe of some of these guys. Like, you can't think of it like, it's an honor to go and play Shane. It's an honor to go and play Yap. Like, you're in that mix. You got to go and get there, man, because he's got the ability and he's got the talent and he's got the break. That kid can be smooth. I mean, real smooth.
He reminds me a lot of Didi about 3 years ago.
When you're right, and when James's timing is on his break, it's a lot like Jesus. When his timing is just pure, because James has a break sometimes that is just, it's beautiful in 10 ball, you know, where everything is just like one fluid motion. You know, he gets that big pop, ball just dies, and everything does what it's supposed to do. 4 railers are going the way they're supposed to go and do. The balls are threatening the sides. The one ball's dressing up by the bottom left. I mean, it's beautiful to go and watch. You know, and Jesus, you're right, Nate. That's a very good example to go and compare him to, because that's spot on, man.
Didi ended up breaking through, and now he broke out of the U.S., which is a bummer. Another one of the players who's not coming back for a while, it seems like. But, you know, right when Didi was actually starting to break through and become, you know, not on that top tier of players, but I would say securely into the second tier of players, now we might not see him for 3 or 4 years, which is kind of a bummer, maybe even more.
Career might be over, buddy.
Yeah. New Jersey pool player asked, he said he slept through the whole podcast. Can we start over? Sure. Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about before closing this out, so this is, I'm not sure if anybody even knows this yet, but it might be public knowledge. I don't know. Predator. So like Predator gets a lot of hate for a lot of different reasons. And honestly, I was one of them about 4 years ago until I actually started working with them. I will say this: Predator is doing more for this sport, maybe even with Matchroom. I mean, the stuff that they're doing. So it hasn't been announced yet, I don't think, but they're actually doing a Canadian Open this year too. They're going to be inventing basically I don't know if you want to call it the sister tournament or the sibling tournament of the U.S. Open. They're creating a Canadian Open in Calgary. I believe it's in Calgary, Canada. And it's going to be another, I want to say it's another $100,000 added event from Predator.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about the work that they're putting into this industry, and it's sick. I mean, the prize purse for their 7 events just in the U.S. Pro Billiard Series is $770,000, and that doesn't count the Australian Open. It doesn't count the Predator World 10 Ball. It doesn't count the Canadian Open. Now you're looking at over $1 million that they are going to be giving away this year alone.
Great.
I don't think Matchroom is giving away $1 million. Maybe I'm wrong there. I mean, if you add up all their events, it's probably pretty close. But Matchroom is a multi-billion-dollar company. Predator is a multi-million-dollar company. I mean, I just... What is going on with you, Rob? Oh.
What's that?
Okay, better.
Your mic changed.
What did you just do?
Oh, really? I'm off?
Well, we can hear you. It just got really different. It changed.
Oh.
What'd you click?
Anyways,
whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, Matchroom is doing amazing things. I'm not trying to denigrate what they're doing. I just want to highlight properly what Predator is doing. You're talking about $1 million given away in prize funds this year, and that's guaranteed. It's not like they're going to say oh, I guess we only filled 20 of the 64 spots at
but
the Ohio
Matchroom's
Open.
reach
I guess we're just gonna.
I love what Predator is doing, but Matchroom's reach globally.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't compare it.
Well, what I'll say is
I just want to put it in proper context.
I've seen a lot, from since the Camel Tour to the IPT to bonus ball, to a lot of different things where people have tried to start stuff. And what I'll say is different about what Predator's doing. All those other, I hate to say it this way, but you can almost tell which events are destined for greatness, and which and growth, and which ones are legitimately for the players and are good ones to support. When the events are like, hey guys, we're going to have some amazing things in your future if you invest in us now. So we need you to come show up and play and go negative and contribute a bunch of money. And you need to take the first step here. And then someday it'll pay off for you. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of, I mean, that's how the IPT was a little bit, like a lot of big promises, maybe a little bit of bait on the hook to get some people excited, but then really asking the players to spend tons of money playing qualifiers and playing all these things. And then it just fizzled and everybody was stuck. And meanwhile, with like bonus ball, the same thing. Like, hey guys, we want you to take a leap of faith. Take a leap of faith. Give us some faith. Give us a chance. Give us your faith. Predator's not doing that. They're like, no. We'll show you. We'll put the money where our mouth is. We'll prove it. We'll prove it. We'll prove it. We'll prove it. And they are proving it again and again. And when you have a company that goes out and proves it instead of asking for a leap of faith, you know they're legit.
They couldn't even fill events last year. And the year after, they're adding more money. And then they go and commit to 5 years. And on top of that, they're still working with Matchroom and sponsoring a lot of their projects apart with that. So, yeah, I don't think there's any question what they do for the industry.
A little togetherness.
And what they do. Yeah. No, for sure. Without a doubt. It can really be
starting to work together. We like that.
Yeah.
They still have a lot of
bridge to kind of build, but
they do, and it's not like everything that they do is perfect either. I mean, I have some qualms with Predator and some of the stuff that goes on with that company. Yeah, I don't think that their warranty program is great. I don't, their customer service isn't always the best. But the point is they're putting their money, like Demetrius said, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're not asking you to have faith in them and trust them and just go along with it until it happens. They are just saying, bump all that. We're just going to do our thing, and you guys can either come with us or you're not. But the point is we're still going to move forward, and you can choose to partake in it. They're not begging Shane to play. They're not begging Sky to play. They're not asking Jason to show up. They're just doing what they're doing. And, if you want to show up and play in it, great. And if you don't want to later on, I hope that this gets so popular someday that it's 128 invited field, and they remember who supported it in the beginning, You want an invite?
I don't want to be that petty, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This is the first time.
I'm serious, man. I'm like, damn, man, come on, get on board here.
This is the first. I've been playing pool since '94. This is the first time in my life that I felt like pool is going to get better. I mean, people are always. Really? I remember, like, if you look at the people in the Camel Tour in 1995, everyone's like, "Oh, Camel's doing great things. Pool's just getting started. We're going to get on TV. We're going to do more events." Like, everybody's always been eternally optimistic, and the whole time I've been pretty cynical. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think so." But this is like the first time when I'm like, you know what? I think that in 2025 and 2030, we're going to have Matchroom. We're going to have Predator. We're going to have, we've got the JIC. I want to shout out to the JIC, Ra Hanna, and he's been running this junior events all across the U.S. People talk about the U.S.'s presence in the Moscone Cup or in the national pool scene. We got to look at the juniors, and the juniors need opportunity. Of course, they need training, but they need opportunity to compete and compete against high-level players. And the JIC has been running events, and it's just so exciting to see. I've seen more promising things for the juniors, for the national level players with the what is it, NLP? I forget, but I've seen NBL. So I'm sorry, and then the high levels as far as Predator and Matchroom. I've never really seen it. It just feels like. And I think I don't know why it happened in the last few years. Maybe it could be technology, and with social media, we're able to unite a little bit better and organize a little bit better. Or it might just be that it took the right visionaries with the right plan. I don't know what it is, but this is the first time when I actually feel like, if a junior player is playing in the JIC and winning events and wanting to be a competitive pool player, of course you're going to have 10 times the competition because the skill level's going up. It's all international. The information's all out there. So it's going to be harder than ever to get to the top. But for people that can, there might actually be a reason,
I want to give a little shout out to Brandon and Dave Jacoby. They just had their annual Jacoby Open event this last weekend where they have a singles tournament, a team tournament. And then on Sunday, it's specifically for juniors. And they do that every year, and so they deserve a shout out for that. And Brandon got third place in his own tournament this year.
Nice.
Stacked. Hacked.
I was gonna ask you, Demetrius, how hard is it to like not be cynical and jaded after all these years of like the BS? Because I hear from a lot of guys where they're still like, we've heard it all before, we've been through this, circus before, and it's tough, and maybe that's why it's even tougher for them to go and buy into all this, what's going on now.
Well, I think what it is that Poole, honestly, the only way I can say it is that my expectations have probably been lower than anybody else's for decades, where every time anybody ever got excited about anything, whether it's bonus ball, whether it's IPT, whether it's any individual local tours or national tour, I was always just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'll believe it when I see it. I doubt it. I'm kind of skeptical.
He's done that to me. He has done that to me.
Demi, I got a question for you.
And so hang on, I'm just going to finish this answer. So because my expectations are super, super low, then when somebody actually shows me something that's real, even if it's not, everybody's making $100,000 salary with benefits, even if it's just, but it's a non-zero real net positive established contribution to the game. They've exceeded my expectations because I had none. I think everybody else they want so much and they dream so big and they're so enthusiastic about so many things that everything's a perpetual disappointment to them because it's not as big or as fast or as much or whatever. But for me, I just think I was so cynical that like when somebody actually came along and did something, I'm like, oh, look at that. That's not failing.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Your training program, you could say right now, honestly, is doing very well. Probably in your own mind, you're saying this is pretty good. You're pretty busy. Your full schedule. Would you say that 10 years ago you'd be in the same place? If you were technically as good as you are 10 years ago as you are now, do you think you'd have the business you do now?
It's interesting that there's two parts to this. One is am I able to deliver on when somebody reaches out to me and comes into Minnesota and trains with me for 3 days, can I deliver to them? And that's the first question. Whether or not I was personally able to deliver to them or not 10 years ago, I don't know.
Say you were able to.
But the second half of that is letting people know about who I am. And so I have to thank Nate for, letting me participate. I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for people like Nate who built, and to help people hear about me. There's no way.
Sure.
And I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not the guy to do that. I can't do what Nate does. To grow a brand, it takes a special person that has. I see how many posts that Neight Mindham posts on Facebook, and it's like to have to be out there running raffles and connecting with people and sending private messages and sending packages and boycott posts and doing podcasts and running podcasts and answering questions and shaking hands. Like, oh my God, it's like. He's on the campaign trail. If he wanted to run for president right now, I would think that 2024 he could maybe pull it off. So anyway, it's like if it wasn't for people like Nate, I couldn't do this. And 10 years ago, there was no podcasts and there was no social media and there was no YouTube for Poole other than just a couple of trick shots. So no, I don't think that if I just went out and told people, hey guys, if I just shouted into a cave that I'm doing training, it wouldn't have worked.
No, the social media certainly has helped that.
Evolution.
Who's this little cutie you have down there, Molina?
That's my little monkey.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's my baby. My youngest.
Molina Mike knows what that's like. That's like Molina's life too, huh? Isn't it fun?
It's tough. It can go. It can go. It can wear down, and it's hard to find a balance. And there's no do it like this book to learn the right way or the wrong way. It's completely blind and you're just trying, and it's unique and different, and it's scary, but it's rewarding. And but
not financially,
right? But fundamentally it's like when you get, whether this is Predator with CSI or Predator with Matchroom, when you get a group of people who all fundamentally want the same goal, and you guys can get in a room and just think about it and work on ways to go and accomplish that, it can really take off, and we may not see dividends in the immediate, but long term, that's what we're hoping for. And we hope to go and just see the game go and grow. And I know just from a few years ago, hell, I would have never thought we'd been here talking about events back to back to back to back for these guys, and it's all like it's all part of the process for the game of pool to kind of get to where it should be. I think it's still in its infancy, but it'll
when
get there.
COVID hit, we thought that live pool tournaments might be over, and now it's never been better. Yeah,
that's for sure.
So going off of your comments there, Demetrius, as far as like this is the first time you're optimistic. I guess the reason why I know this is real right now, or it at least really, really, really feels real. If Matchroom pulled out tomorrow and just pulled their entire pool division, there's still Predator that's pushing the industry forward, right? We're not losing everything. Back in 2007 or about 2007 was the IPT, right? If the IPT pulled out, the industry lost everything. It's gone. It's done. The women's, when they lost ESPN, it was done. It was gone. WPBA still existed, but nowhere close to what it was. Even the WPBA is making a pretty decent resurgence right now. They're adding back to their calendar for the first time in a long time.
With Predator's help. I mean, let's not go and undersell that, because Predators is also helping out with their event. I think they're doing a Vegas event too. So it's like they're not just taking money and just putting it back and filling their pockets. It's like they're there going and putting it back into the sport. That's fantastic.
So
kudos to them.
I guess when I'm looking at the industry right now, like in bonus ball, whatever it was in like 2013 or whatever it was, I don't even remember when that was. It lasted for 8 months. That was all pool had basically, and once it was gone, that's it. You go back to the Campbell Tour in the late 90s and
Campbell Pro Tour. Yes, there you go, Nate.
The Campbell Tour was done in like 98 or something like that. I was 6. So I mean, once that was gone,
the same amount of facial hair.
Pretty much. So I mean, you're kind of in this situation where like something will pop up and everyone's like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then it goes away and the industry is dead. It's dead again, and until some visionary comes along and does something, and then it's around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, dies, the entire industry is done again. It's dead again. And and it just, you have all these different things. But go ahead.
I was going to say what's exciting about that too is when you have one person, like whether it's Kevin Trudeau with the IPT, when you have one person that runs the only hope of pool, it's easy for them to get on a power trip, to get greedy, to get short-sighted. But when you have multiple events, not only are you diversified and like the alligator, you've laid many legs so that, many eggs so that some of them might make it to maturity, but there's competition and now they have to compete against each other. And then they can't just have some selfish person that's going to just do what's best for them. It's like they have to start. Competition is great, man.
Absolutely. And you're getting to the point where like, if Matchroom pulls out tomorrow, which I don't think they will, but if they did, is the industry going to take a hit? It's going to take a massive hit. But is it dead? I don't think so. If Predator pulls out tomorrow, is the industry going to take a hit? Yeah. Is it going to be dead? No. You still have, to a very, very,
take your place.
The only thing that could really
degree.
The only thing that could really hurt at this point is if you shut off the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the podcast is everything, right? But like, even if you pull out Predator and Matchroom, like there are still hopes, right? The NBL could be huge. I mean, at least in the U.S. The Euro Tour, maybe they'll take some lessons from what Matchroom did, and maybe they would grow. I mean, you're not completely dead even if Predator and Matchroom pulled out, and I think that's why I think it's different right now, and this is actually a real movement. Is all of our eggs aren't in one basket, right? I mean, there's it's 75% of our hopes are still probably wrapped up in Matchroom, 20% is wrapped up in Predator, the last 5% are from the NBL, the Euro Tour.
We got to teach you some math, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at it. So. Whatever. Well, I mean, as far as the viewership across the country or across the world,
what I love about it is that everybody is forcing everybody else to do better than they did yesterday.
Step up.
That's whether it's regional events that are being streamed or tournaments that are going on, even like national regional events all around the country. There's decent added money at a whole lot of them compared to years past, where it was like $2,000 or $3,000. Now you're talking about $10,000, $15,000, $30,000, $50,000 added events, at people's pool rooms. So, and they're all trying to work together to make sure the calendar works. And, but it is a really good time, and the games, I'm not saying the game is at the place where it needs to be, but it's on the right path to get where
getting there.
It may not. The guys the guys who are in the later stages of their career, they may not go and see it, but the younger generation of players, the fillers and the fedders of the world, may go and build it.
Efren will see it. Efren's going to be around for another 40 years.
If Efren sees it, I get to see it.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, chess is on the upswing too. So Queen's Gambit came out. He's got options. That's all I'm saying.
Tell you what, that Queen's Gambit, like Rob, there's one thing that if I only brought you on the podcast for your suggestion for Queen's Gambit, that's good enough. I mean, that show was amazing. That show was awesome.
Oh yeah,
that was like, did you watch it, Demetrius?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a mental game of tennis, only on the chess.
If anybody doesn't know, I mean, Demetrius is a pretty. Yeah, you're probably a pretty good shortstop in chess too, but you love the game of chess.
Yes. Anybody that wants, you can look me up on leadchess.org. I'm Ricky Roll. So
okay,
I'll play. If you guys look me up, I'll play you some online chess.
Okay, maybe I'll play you some.
Yeah.
So I mean, how did you think the representation of that did for chess? Because if you look at the color of money, I mean, that was nothing close to what pool.
The only thing I didn't like. Okay, so we're doing our wind up, so I'm not going to start a huge. I'll just say this: the only thing I loved it. I loved a lot of things about it. The one thing that I really had a trouble with, and actually, it's funny that Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, said this too, is that her path was one of nonstop triumph. Where almost where it's like she got to the next level, she wins, and then there was twice, once at the national level and once at the world championship level, where she suffered one loss just temporarily so that people could understand how tough her opponent was. So that it's almost like in a fighting movie where the main character wins every fight until they get to the very, very final bad guy. And then when they fight the final bad guy, it's actually tough. And maybe the bad guy hits them once and it's like, ooh, this person's so tough. They can hit the impossibly tough me. And then I beat him anyway. And that was kind of the way it was, is that she had this journey where she just got really, really, really good, beat everybody all the time, everywhere she went. And then one time, like, somebody sneaks a game off her and is like, ooh, this person's really tough. And then she immediately goes back and wins everything. And the problem with that is that it's a deeply, profoundly problematic narrative, because it just, so many people struggle with Superman syndrome and thinking that they're just going to like that's not the road to success. The real road to success is just paved with tears, pain, and loss. And we got to see that in her personal life. But it's just, and of course it's a show, right? So you can say, oh, it's entertainment. We just want a hero to root for. And, it's fantasy, right? It's fantasy. But I think that it made the chess, so that was the only thing that I found kind of like a little weird. It's like, yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more suffering on the way to success.
Wow. Want a little bit more suffering. What a rude guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Let's have some.
I want to see some Alex Kazakis, man. I want to see the Alex Kazakis. That's why I think I like reality. Reality is a pretty fun thing to root for.
Yeah. Well,
there certainly is some pain involved in winning.
I guess that's a pretty good discussion on the Predator. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say about the Predator event before we move on?
See you in Vegas.
I guess we don't. Yeah, we don't really have.
There's somebody, Mike, who wants your poster in the background on the comment section. They want that. I think it's the Jackie Gleason poster. I'm not sure.
Yeah, these are canvases by my buddy Kevin. He's an artist who does a lot of pool stuff. He's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd be happy to hook you up with them if you like more info.
Let's move on to let's move on to the Premier League, which is ongoing. So I guess there's really isn't a ton to talk about. But before we do it, why don't we do a Manscaped ad, Rob? How excited are you for this? You gonna shave your face?
Oh yeah, here I'm gonna. The only thing I have to take this thing right here.
It's called the keyboard, Rob.
Yeah, the keyboard. That's what it's called. I have to move it because the hairs fall inside of it, and then it doesn't work very good. But I'm going to get in real close, and I'm going to turn this baby on, because if you have a 5-day growth on your face, the hardest thing to do is just shave it off.
Keep it on your face, buddy.
It hurts. So if you have the Manscaped, then you can take and do this. You hear it?
Cuts like butter.
Oh, it is just so smooth.
Cuts like butter. Take off one of your eyebrows. Show them how easy that works.
And then if you want to go over it, and you want
Reminds me
to
of the Blair Witch Project
with a straight edge, and it's just nothing. You don't even hardly feel it then. So that's this baby right here, this Manscaped. It does it all. Every part of your body.
Relax.
In case you were wondering, the reason I have no facial hair is because I take the Manscaped to it all the time. That's the reason why I have none.
That's $1 million commercial.
Mike, don't question that. All right. We're going to go over the sweet Valentine's Day special. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is just the right thing every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. The number one product in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. The electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin, and it gets the trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology. It reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate balls. What a read, huh? It even has a 4,000K LED spotlight, so you can shave anywhere your heart desires.
Look at that,
Did I mention it's waterproof too?
That could take planes out of the sky, man.
This kid.
Yeah.
I'd like to propose making
walls.
All right. I'd like to propose making February 13th a national holiday as National Shave Your Balls Day. Who's with me? I think this one holiday that men and women can get behind.
I might. I'm saying
this package includes
the jury. The jury's still out with Rob.
To whack all the worst of your weeds, Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs to help keep your boys stored comfortably. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code QItUpPod at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped on Valentine's Day.
Oh, she will be so happy.
You can't get this kind of advertising anywhere else.
Raising the bar, boys.
Yes, we are.
Right after we talk about how well the industry's doing, we do an ad like that, and now we know that it's exactly where it needs to be. All right, let's go on to the Premier League. I personally, I guess just to start out with, I really honestly loved that format last year. It kind of has like a Survivor type of feel to it. It's almost like a game show meets pool, meets, world-class quality, meets, constant storylines. And I loved the idea of it. Honestly, I don't like the idea of all of the players playing every single day and then just eliminating some on day 4, day 7, and then having a finals. I loved the idea of like having your ranking up high enough that you get to qualify into the early days and have the best chance of making money. And honestly, I just honestly think that the format before was better. But with that being said, it's still the best pool in the world, right? So I guess what do you think, Molina Mike? You look real angry about it.
No, I'm not angry at all. I like it. I do. It's a lot of pool. It's a lot of pool, and it's race to the 5-9 ball. It can be exciting and thrilling and compelling. It's massive swings because of the alternate break. So it's like, even of a 3-1 lead, or we saw earlier today where Kelly Fisher had Shane. I think it was like 4-1 after Shane missed an 8 ball and a 9 ball. I mean, you can't win in day 1
in all of his matches.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I know he was certainly down
in all of his
Kelly.
matches today. Sorry, today.
Oh, today. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to watch a lot today. This morning,
and won all of them. He won all of his matches down 5-4 or 4-1, I think.
I like seeing these guys go, and it reminds me a lot of the Predator event in the sense that it's a lot of like pressure packed, and you have to go and play really great. I love the 4-inch pockets. Shane missed an 8 ball and Shane missed a 9 ball. It's like you can never get too comfortable because you have to really bear down and focus and execute and make sure and put the ball down. I don't think, you can't lose it in day one, but you can put yourself in a really bad hole, and we saw that with Max yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it was different last year because you had guys coming in like at different stages, and whether there's benefit to that or not, I don't know. But I like that everyone's playing everyone, so it's not like different groups separated like it was before. And I mean, it's some of the best players on earth right now. I know we're missing a few guys, but it's the talent level is phenomenal. So that much I can appreciate, and I'm just seeing those guys play on 4-inch pockets is just a real treat, man. Because if it was on 4.5, I'm out. Forget it. I want zero part of it. I love the referee racking. If you got just as much chance of getting slugged as the next guy. So I think that'll go and even itself out. And like the guys were saying on the commentary earlier, it's like even though it's a race to 5, you're really playing a really long race with everybody else to get to the most wins to secure your spot. And then once you get, I think it was after day 5, you get into the top 10, I believe, something like that. So
there's 16 that they start out with, and at the end of day 5,
I think 6 go home. Gone. Yeah. And they're guaranteed some money, which is good for them. It's kind of brutal. That's after Wisconsin because Kazakis, and Yap and
Yap,
Kachi, they didn't look that great. They didn't look that sharp, and I'm sure they were jet lagged and everything else. But
I know that all 3 of them were in Wisconsin on Sunday morning, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't sleep the best on a plane. I can a little bit, but I don't sleep great on a plane. So when you're talking about, like, let's say they have a noon flight out of Wisconsin, they're not flying straight from Wisconsin to London. They're flying from Wisconsin to Chicago or to New York City or to somewhere. So you're talking about a 3-hour flight probably from Wisconsin to wherever they're going. Let's say an average of 2-hour layover, something like that. And now you're looking at an 8-hour flight from there to London. You're looking at, from start to finish, from the moment you walk through the airport doors to the moment you leave the airport doors and get to the event, you're looking at about probably 16 to 20 hours. And that puts you there in the middle of the morning, probably right when you're about to start. So you're not sleeping basically from Sunday at noon, going through all that travel, and then you're showing up and being expected to hit balls within probably 2 hours. That's brutal.
They did accommodate them in the sense that they moved their matches to the evening session. So, I mean, in that regards, they were flexible with them and were understanding. So, nice. They weren't just throwing them out there and, leaving them to go and get eaten by the wolves.
They weren't accommodating?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they could have put them in a bad spot. Let's say one missed flight, then it's like, you're going and scrambling, finding someone out of Europe to go and fill in. But Matchroom always does a great job. I like the second channel. I wish it had commentary as well on it, though, on the YouTube. Dazen, for me, has been great. I haven't had any issues with it at all. I don't want to complain, and I don't really have anything to complain about. But it's a lot of pool. We're talking about 10 hours a day of just nothing but 9-ball pool, and with all great players. And as someone who likes to gamble a little bit, I like betting on them, but it can really go and torture you because race to 5. I mean, even though someone's a favorite, you could have Kelly Fisher going and beating Kachi. You can have Kelly Fisher up 4-1 on Shane. So from a number of different standpoints, if you're laying odds on the money or you're laying a game, I mean, it can really make it fun pretty quick, and you can get busted pretty quick with that amount of matches every day. Trust me, I know too well.
Demetrius,
how much fun that is.
Any thoughts?
No, I don't have much to say. I haven't really been watching this one. I've I don't know. I had a couple things going on, but I'll probably start tuning in now. So I've got a day or two before my next student flies in, so I'll probably get a chance to watch some in the next couple days.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I've been loosely watching. I mean, with Darren being here the last 2 weeks, Darren and Mika being here the last 2 weeks, I've really struggled to get anything done. So basically, I'm trying to catch up in 2 weeks worth of not really doing all that much. So, I mean, everybody who won a prize for the Mika and Darren matchup, you know that you haven't got it yet. But I'm looking over right now I'm going to end up shipping out 39 packages today. So I finally got all those boxed up and ready to go to the airport. So Sorry, did I say airport? The post office, and I'll get those shipped out. After
that, hand deliver.
All right.
Here's everything I have to get done. This is my organization right here.
You're just going to show up at their door.
Yeah, right. Hey,
well,
airport, take these.
To have a real job, I mean, come on.
This is a real job, all right?
That's
it just
what
doesn't pay. It just doesn't pay. I have a real job. It just doesn't pay.
Come on, Alicia pays you.
I've been watching a little bit. I watched Shane's matches. I watched Sky's matches. Sky actually, like, for not competing, I thought he looked okay. It's crazy how he just doesn't have to play hardly any pool at all, and he just shows up and kind of gets it done. But I think it's showing up a little bit with his ability to, I guess, perform the best under pressure. I would say that in this type of format, that he's certainly not a huge dog to get beat in any sort of his matches, but I think that we'll see.
He can break one how this goes. Ball. He can break one spot 9 ball.
He's currently 2-2. He plays Jason tonight for his 3rd match. We'll see. It's kind of it's almost brutal. Max Leschner, in his first day, he had to play 5 matches, and he just turns out that he just didn't play good pool. He dropped 0-5 in the first day. It sucks that you have 5 matches on a day that you just don't. You don't have your best game, and maybe if those 5 matches were on day 2, that maybe he'd be 5-0 right now instead of 0-5. But I think it's a little weird to have somebody play 2 matches on the first day and have somebody play 5 on the first day. But maybe it's a little bit different because they're trying to accommodate the other players. So maybe you have to wiggle it around. I'm not sure exactly how they do the scheduling. So I guess in the grand,
but some guys just find a way, man. Like in the overall, like some of these like. Chains down 4-1, he finds a way, But 9 ball, I mean, you guys know pool can be brutal, man. It's like 1 or 2 funky things, and you're talking about alternate break, like it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Demi, when you're down, do you have a different mindset? Do you just grab yourself by the knockers and go, "Hey, I'm digging in"?
So I'm really I'm very, very, very forgiving to myself about outcomes, like whether or not I win, whether or not I miss balls. But I'm very, very, very religiously impatient and intolerant with myself when it comes to my processes. So I feel that I'm not a professional pool player, but when I go to a tournament, it is my job to do certain things. It is my job to make a good decision, make my best effort, take a deep breath, and put a trusting stroke on every shot. If I'm going to play a safety, I don't just get to sit there and be like, things aren't going my way. I guess I'll just skim this ball and go up table, and hopefully I get a hook, or hopefully it's good enough. It's like, no, it's my job. Even when I don't feel like it matters, even when I don't feel like I'm up to it, even if I don't feel like I'm good enough right now to get the cue ball to go where I want to, or if I break it down, like how I feel is fine, and how I'm, what thoughts go through my head. I don't care how I feel or what I think. When I have certain beliefs, and I care about my beliefs and my behavior. And it's like, I believe that I can do my job, and that there's no level of breakdown that I could have to where I can't make my good decision, decide what I want to do, commit to it, get down and give my best effort. And if I can honestly say that I do that, then I can handle the downswings. But if I don't do that, if I let the results and my mindset about those results start impacting my efforts and my shot selection, or whether or not I really commit or to put a good trusting stroke, like that's not okay. And then it's like, well, then I have to ask myself, like, then I don't get to, you don't get to do that. It would almost be like this. Suppose you got to the finals. If you showed up and played your best and lost, which would that's one thing. But suppose you didn't even bother to play. Suppose you forfeit your match because you didn't even get out there on time. It's like, no, you got to show up for the finals, man. You can't, if you lose, you lose, but you at least got to get there and play. Well, to me, doing your processes, like if you don't even do your processes, then it's like you didn't even show up for the match. And that's unforgivable. I mean, like you can see I'm ranting. So it's like that.
Well,
that's how important it is
question
to me.
there for you.
So that's how I deal with. I don't really care about downswings in terms of results or feelings or thoughts. All I care about is I am going to do my job, and as long as I do my job, the background is going to be a merry-go-round, a kaleidoscope of wins and losses and misses and chokes and hero shots and cashes and no cashes and hero stories where I beat somebody great and then I lose to somebody that can't hardly play. It's just going to be this big kaleidoscope of results spinning around. Sure. And in the middle of it all, I got a job to do, and none of that matters. You got to do your job.
Yeah, I can remember an instance. This is quite about 20 years ago now. I was in the finals of a pretty big 9-ball tournament where there was $3,000-$4,000 on the line, and score was 3-3, and my opponent was coming back to the table after he had just tied it up 3-3, and he looked at me, and his name was Gene Albright, and he says to me, he said, "Rob, I can see I'm going to have to take my game to the next level." So that was kind of what I was asking. I mean, there's a point there where you can actually go inside yourself deeper. And that's what he was kind of saying to me. He was saying, listen, I can't just play my regular game. I'm going to have to go. If I want to win this, I have to go deeper than I'm going now. I have to do more focus, better. For
sure. But the problem is that there's also a reality, which is that you can't always, nobody can always, of course, that's what you try to do, right?
Right.
But if you could if everybody was, everybody's the hero in their own story, and everybody thinks that everybody thinks it's the part of the movie where it's the end of the movie where they're going to dig deep and make the 3-pointer at the buzzer. But the fact is that everybody but one person loses out of the tournament. And so in the end,
right.
It's just you can't just sit there and be like champions, just dig deep and always find a way to win, because that's just not the truth. That's the Queen's Gambit thinking. And that whole line of thinking leads to a lot of problems in mental game. I really believe that people have delusional narratives that lead to mental problems when they play pool. And that if you can have a realistic narrative, which is that, there's going to be ups and downs, and I'm not a hero, that it can always come with magic, but that's okay. I don't need to be something that I'm not. I'm not a superhero, but I don't need to be a superhero. I'm just a guy that tries really hard to prepare, practice ahead of time, get my game sharpened up, go out there, make good decisions, give my best effort, try to handle the pressure, try to handle the situation physically and mentally. Sure. And then whatever happens. And it's I don't know, man. I think for me, that's, maybe other people have had, I don't think that this whole hero narrative is successful. I wouldn't say it works for some people. I would say so many people think that way, that among the people that think that way, sometimes they're going to back into good results. Especially at the non-elite levels. But I think when you get to the elite levels, like even Fedor, he'll tell you, it's all he cares about is how hard he prepares and how hard he tries. And that's what he measures himself on. And he can't, so I think that's the real way to look at it
Yeah. So there's no deeper inner you that can play better than what you're already playing.
Well, I mean, it can happen, right? That can happen where sometimes when you're in the clutch, you dig deep and you find ways to do stuff that you couldn't have done earlier, and it's great. But there's also times in the clutches you try to dig deep, and instead you find ways to blow shots that you wouldn't have thought. You find ways to melt down in ways you didn't think you break down to levels that you didn't think you were capable of breaking down to. That happens too.
That can work against you.
And you're not a hero or a dog. You're all of it, and you just have to keep steering back and trying. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it worked for Gene.
Fair enough.
Yeah. He ran off the set.
All right. Well, I guess with that, let's wrap up the podcast. I think that's a pretty good, amount of time for airing the show. Check out Premier League. I think it's going on right now. I had assumed that it's still going on DAZN and YouTube. So I guess with that, thanks again for joining us. Demetrius and Rob and Mike had to leave just a little bit ago, but thanks, Mike, and thanks to everybody for tuning in, and I guess we'll be back next week.
Thanks a lot, fellas.
Take care. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, good to see everybody.